Hi, thank you very much, everyone who's joining us so far. I think we'll get more people joining in over the next few minutes as well. Uh, but I won't keep you waiting much longer. So, yeah, thank you for joining. We're really excited to be hosting this live Q&A today. As many of you will know, at Hyperlin& Co, we want to make bedtime a dream for kids, parents, and grandparents alike. And as part of our Giving Back campaign, we are currently in partnership with Together Trust Charity, who deliver individual care and support and education services across the Northwest, and offer various sleep services also. We'd love to welcome our sleep talk with our sleep specialists, Sarah and Paige from Together Trust Charity. So if you two would like to introduce yourself as well, that'd be great.
Will I go first?
Yes, go on then.
We didn't plan that, did we? So hello everybody. My name is Paige. I'm a specialist sleep practitioner for the Together Trust Sleep Service. Just a little bit about what I do. So I mainly work with families across the Bradford and Craven district, as that's where one of our contracts lie. But I also help out on Rochdale, which Sarah works on, and other services too, kind of here and there. As well as our one-to-one work, we also deliver sleep training to professionals and host webinars, sleep chats, and things like that. On a more kind of personal level, I'm soon to be a qualified integrative therapist, specialising in CBT. And here at the sleep service, we're also working on a new CBTI project here, which is CBT for insomnia. So we're hoping that that will be on offer in the future as well. So that's me.
Oh, lovely, Paige. Well, you've covered a lot of what Together Trust is, so that is great. So as Paige said, under Together Trust, I cover all of Rochdale. So I do one-on-one work with children from age 2 plus who aren't sleeping very well. I also specialize in baby sleep. Young ones aged 0 to 2 is what is the age group that I love working with the most. I'm also a mum. I've got a five-year old and a 2-year old, so I have definitely been there with the lack of sleep. But yeah, I absolutely love my job, and I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, well, thank you very much, the pair of you, for joining. Yeah, it's really, really a privilege. So we obviously opened up the questions to this live Q&A a few weeks ago, and there was lots of people who were very keen and jumped at the opportunity to get some sleep advice. As you know, it's obviously a topic that's so important, and many people will love your advice. So yeah, these are some of the questions that we received, and we unfortunately probably won't be able to get through all of them. But the first one that we received was from Claire, who had two kids, both under the age of 5. And her question to us was, what should I do if my child keeps waking up at night?
Okay. So I'll take this one. Waking in the night is totally normal. I hope that's quite reassuring for people to hear. So even adults wake between sleep cycles. We just kind of roll over, go back to sleep without even thinking about it. The key is with children and toddlers is whether they can resettle independently or if they need help every time to kind of settle back to sleep. So if your little one is waking frequently and is struggling to go back to sleep, the first thing I would maybe look at is sleep associations, which are usually the biggest culprit, and sometimes people call it sleep props. And you may just want to kind of ask yourself, do they need rocking to sleep or feeding to sleep? Do they need kind of patting or a dummy with them? And if so, are they needing that same thing every time they wake up in the night? Sometimes it's parental presence, sometimes it's white noise being on. The list is kind of endless. So if that's a yes, then that's a big clue. Children who kind of rely on a sleep prop to fall asleep at bedtime often then need it again every single time, they wake up in the night. The good news is that, you can help them to gradually reduce this dependence. So for example, if they need rocking, try just kind of rocking less each night, over a period of time. If they need milk to fall asleep, let's say try reducing the volume each night and then maybe move it to supper time, which is usually around 45 minutes to an hour before getting into bed. If it's parental presence or carer presence, then, gradually moving away from them each night, creating distance whilst they sleep may be helpful there. This doesn't mean that you kind of suddenly leave them to kind of figure it out by themselves. It is a process, and we can help with that. You may want to also look at their sleep space. So, is the room too bright? Blackout blinds can help with that, especially now we're kind of approaching, spring, summer. Um, are there any noises waking them up? Do we have a noisy household? Is there a dog barking, a cat meowing? Is there people going to bed late or siblings moving around in the house, traffic, outside of the house? And we've got to kind of consider internal and external factors here as well. Um, and are they too hot? Check layers and the room temperature as well. So lots of kind of things there to consider. This is one of the things actually that we help with our self-funded packages. So you can kind of take a look at our website and purchase a self-funded sleep package. And this is where either myself, Sarah, or one of our other specialist sleep practitioners will work with you and your child just to provide information, advice, and support that you might need just to combat any sleep issues that you have in your family. So if anybody would like to get in touch, then please check that out on our website.
Oh, that's really helpful. Thank you very much, Paige. Yeah,
Love.
that'll be a big relief to a lot of people as well, just to know that, yeah, it's normal. I think there's a lot of pressure, isn't there, that people put on themselves to kind of get people sleep or get their children sleep in order, really quickly. And of course, it's so different for every person. Just noticed that there's a little bit of a technical glitch just for some people on mobile. So we're just going to take a little.
Everybody.
Yeah, we're now back in business. So yeah. Thank you very much, everybody, for those people who've been patient and waited. We will continue with our live now that we now avoided any more technical issues. So thank you very much, Paige, for that first question. It's really answering that first question. It's obviously really good to know that there will be many parents know that they are not alone, and also that waking up in the night is incredibly normal. Our second question here is, why does my child wake up too early, and how can this be fixed?
Righto, so this one is for me. So early wakes are no fun for anybody, and most certainly bring your day to kind of like a bad start, don't they? Especially when you wake up really, really tired before you've even had your morning breakfast. So an early wake is considered anything before 6 a.m. in the morning. It's very, very normal for kids to wake up between 6 and 7, but I wouldn't consider anything after 6 a.m. a early wake. Now there's four kind of main reasons why your child might be waking up early. So I am going to talk about them. That is the amount of sleep that they're having during the day, the amount of light there is, whether they wake up because they are hungry, and noise. Okay, so I will go through them one by one. So number one is the amount of day sleep that they are having. So say if you've got a child that is under the age of around 2.5 or 3 years old, and they are still sleeping in the day, it might be the first sign, if they're waking up really, really early, that they're ready to cut down some of their day sleep. Now, I know most parents don't want to hear this, and I am a mum of two, and I know that nap time is just the best thing in the world, isn't it? But if they start to have early wakes, or if they start to wake up during the night, I think it's time to cut down that nap. Okay, so you would start by just taking off around 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, and see whether that helps. Okay, what we want to avoid as well is day sleep that is at the wrong time. So we often call this danger naps. So having a nap when you are on the way back from the school run, when you are driving, when you're going on a walk in the like in the pushchair. So if they're having danger naps, we need to keep them awake at that key time because if they are, then their bedtime will be shifted later. But a later bedtime doesn't always mean that they will wake up later. So shifting around day sleep is really, really going to help. Okay. The next thing is light. So the amount of light that is coming into the room, and this is the biggest culprit of an early wake, especially at this time of year. So from spring into summer, the sun starts to come up at about 3, 4, 5 in the morning. If that light is coming into the room, it is going to wake up your child. So I am not joking when I say the bedroom needs to be pitch black. Okay, so you should not be able to see your hands in front of your face. Like that is how dark I mean. So using blackout blinds is really, really going to help. If you have ordered blackout blinds and they haven't come yet, then you can try things like sticking tin foil up in the windows. It looks a bit strange to your neighbours, but it does make the room really, really dark. So that is number two. Make sure they're in a dark room. Number three is hunger. So if you've got a little one, then they might be waking up early in the morning because they are hungry. So we need to make sure that they're having a really good supper or a snack before they go to bed. Now, a good time for this is around 45 minutes before the bedtime's due. So say if they're due to go to bed at 8:30, you would do it at around 7:45. Now, this could be things that like a banana, it could be a slice of toast, could be some Weetabix, but it's really got to make sure that they're not waking up really early out of hunger. Number three is noise. So, Paige did talk about this in her last bit a little bit, but noise can wake us up. It might be things like noisy cars driving by. It could be the heating being turned on. So quite often, when the heating comes on in the morning at around 4 or 5, it like does a click and then it hums. So if your heating is waking up your child, try and have it so it turns on a little bit earlier and then not in those early hours. You could use things like white noise too, which is really going to help drown out some of that like background noise. And I said there was four, but there was five. Number five is the temperature. So your child might be waking up because they are cold or because they are too hot. So say if your heating has just turned on, and if their bed is by the radiator, then they might be waking up because they have got really, really warm, or they might be waking up a little bit cold because the temperature of a house does drop at around 3 or 4 in the morning. So those are the five things that could be causing your early wakes and how you can fix them.
That's really interesting. And I think something actually that I've taken quite a lot of comfort in is like listening to brown noise as well, which I was like a
Yes.
very new thing for me because I thought it was all just sort of white noise. But I know that there's loads, isn't there? There's like
There's
pink
loads,
noise,
yeah.
I mean there's a few more, but yeah, it's really interesting. And I think about having like a constant sort of humming, I guess, is really nice. And then, yeah,
Yeah.
very helpful. So yeah, thank you very much,
For
Sarah.
that.
You're
Are you the
welcome.
same also, Paige?
I sleep with the fan on every single night. So when I'm working with families, I always use myself as an example. I'm like, so I put the fan on, and then if someone turned it off, I'd wake up, and yeah, it just sends me off to sleep. It's a great source of white noise.
Yeah, no, I think also like I remember like on holidays and things like that, we've got like the aircon. That's also
Mm.
like, that sort of sound. I know. Back stop thinking about holidays. So yeah, this was a question that we had. It's actually I think we had quite a few people ask about this. Is that was how important is a consistent sleep schedule on weekends, and I guess also the holidays as well. Because I know that when you're away on holiday or when you're even at home, like at Christmas, obviously you've kind of got so many other things going on, haven't you? But yeah, so how important is that sleep schedule at the weekends?
It is super important. So I mean, a tiny bit of flexibility is absolutely fine. The big weekend changes, like a really late nights and late lie-ins, they can create something called social jet lag in children. So if your child, for say, sleeps 7 p.m. till 6 a.m., but then on a weekend they go to bed at 9 p.m. and wake at 8 a.m., then Monday mornings can be pretty brutal. So I just usually recommend, to just try and keep bedtime and wake time within around sort of 30 to 45 minutes of their usual routine. And that's the same with, weekends, school holidays, and things like that as well. If they stay up later, let's try and wake them up at their normal-ish time, just to kind of keep their body clock on track. Teenagers is a little bit different. They kind of have to take a bit more responsibility for staying up at night. If they go to bed late, then they still have to kind of get up the next day, Monday morning, regardless of if they're tired or not, because they've got school and things like that. I usually say to kind of think of it like you're adjusting to a new time zone. So if you stay up super late and sleep in, it does take days to kind of get back on track. So Lions, 30 to 45 minutes, no longer, I'd usually recommend, just so Monday mornings aren't as brutal.
Okay, I will bear that in mind definitely. Um, I guess also that kind of, I think it was something that we spoke about with you previously, which is like you can catch up on sleep at the weekends, but that's sort of being um, a little bit of a myth, really, that the sort of consistency is key. Yeah.
Consistency is key. It's kind of our favorite word as a sleep specialist is consistency, consistency. But it really is, like you say, it really is important. But I think with that there is a little bit of leeway. We can offer some flexibility. We're not saying no, wake them up at 7 a.m. every morning, regardless of what day it is. We are allowing, half an hour, 45 minutes still. But it's just not too much that it will then disrupt the Monday morning and have that kind of ripple effect then across the week.
Good to know. Thank you very much, Paige, for that. Yeah, and then question we had from Naomi as well was what sleep aids do you recommend? I think this is something you've touched on a bit already, whether blackout curtains or foil on the windows, those sort of things that can make things a better environment to sleep in. But is there anything else that you'd recommend?
Yeah, so like kind of your sleep aids or your sleep props are very normal to have, like Paige has said. So for you and I, it's things like having a pillow, having a duvet. It could be things like wearing socks in bed. But those things don't rely on somebody else, and that issue becomes when that sleep prop does rely on somebody else doing that for you. So for example, a parent needing to be in bed with their child and for them to go to sleep. So a sleep aid or sleep prop isn't a bad thing to have. We all have them, but the kind of end goal is that it doesn't rely on somebody else. So the sleep aids that I do recommend, like we said, are things like the white noise. And white noise is a really good one because because you can take it with you. So if you go on holiday, you can just take that. Or if you're staying, well, it actually happened to me because our head office is near a airport, and I went and stayed in a hotel there, and the planes were so loud. So I used my white noise, and it just kind of drowns it out. And because I use white noise when I'm at home, that is my kind of sleep cue, so that my brain and my body knew that it was time to go to sleep. So yeah, white noise, pink noise, brown noise, black noise, all of those things are absolutely fine to use. Now, if your child is over the age of 12 months old, then you could use something like a teddy, it could be a muslin, it could be a blanket, it could be any of those type of things, but they would need to have them with them for all sleep, so for naps and for the night sleep too. And that acts as a really, really nice kind of sleep cue. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I still have my little teddy that I had when I was a little girl. So yeah, they do act as a really, really nice sleep prop, but I don't sleep with mine now. But I know lots and lots of adults who do. Now, things that I don't recommend as a sleep aid, like I said, are things that rely on somebody else, and it's something that you don't want to do in the long term. So for me, with my kid, I knew that I didn't want to co-sleep. And that was just my own choice. It's because I suffer with really, really bad back pain. Because I knew it wasn't something I wanted to do in the long term, I didn't start it. So I would say with the sleep aid, never start something that you don't want to do. Now, if you are happy doing those things, then that's fine. There is nothing wrong with if you want to co-sleep, but you just need to do it safely. Okay, so like the main goal is to find a sleep aid that helps and it won't hinder. So keep it simple and make sure it doesn't rely on somebody else.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Um, okay. So, I mean, this is one as well. It's sleep aids, and the next question we had was just sleeping environments in general. Is there anything else that you have more to offer on that page, or do you want me to move on to question 6?
Um,
This is the number 5,
yes,
which is what is conducive to
yeah.
a good sleeping environment.
Yeah, I do have a little bit, I guess. I'm trying to think now. I don't want to repeat too much, but I mean, I would really reiterate the importance of the setup. So good sleep hygiene basically means a bedtime routine and a sleep environment that promotes sleep. So what we usually recommend is that your child's sleep space is like a little sleep cave, if you like. So cool, dark, and quiet. So I know we've touched base a little bit just on how important it is to kind of keep it really dark. Blackout blinds, of course, are a game changer. And that's only because I know it sounds so simple, blackout blinds, but even the tiniest bit of that early morning light can kind of signal to our body and our brain that it's time to wake up. So that's why it's so important, especially now at this time of the year, to have blackout blinds and create a nice dark space. If your child is scared of the dark, which I know a lot of children are, we would recommend going for a dim red nightlight. So not blue and not white. And that's just because those can kind of interfere with melatonin, which is, of course, our sleepy hormone. So try and stick to the dim red nightlight if we can. Overheating, I know we've mentioned it a little bit, obviously can disrupt sleep. So just keep the room on the cooler side, usually somewhere between 16 to 20 degrees. And we usually recommend just keeping a room thermometer in there just so we can kind of monitor that. And then keeping it quiet, or kind of masking with sound, with white noise, brown noise. With anything like that, again, that can become a sleep association. So we just want to make sure that any noise that is used is consistent, it's kept on all night, it's nice and low, nothing too loud, and it's across the other side of the room, so away from the kind of the head of the bed, if you like. And just keep the bedroom simple, calming tones are best. No really bright, harsh colours. Just keep it quite neutral if we can. All these small changes can make a huge difference in sleep quality. So yeah, just a few things there to be mindful of.
It's interesting what you said about the little night lights, because I think so often they are that quite
Yeah.
supposed to like very like white light. So it's interesting you were saying about the red night light. That wouldn't have been something that would have been on my radar at all. So I think that's definitely a useful tip.
Mm.
Um, Okay, so then we've got a few bonus questions, but I appreciate that Paige and Sarah, you've already given us a good amount of your time already. Have you got time for another few two questions?
Of
Yes,
course.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So this one was, and actually this one is probably really helpful for us as well, to know, and it's how can you help a child adjust to the spring clock change smoothly? It comes around every year, the clock change, and I think it kind of throws people every year. So yeah, is there some key tips that you have?
Yes, okay. So the clock change this year is Sunday the 30th, which happens to be on Mother's Day, which just seems really, really rude, doesn't it? And that is going to happen then. But so on Sunday the 30th of March, the clocks will spring forward, which means that we're going to lose 1 hour's sleep, basically. So what was 6 a.m. now becomes 7 a.m. Okay, so when we kind of lose that hour, it can feel really, really tricky on our body clocks. But there's basically two things that you can do. Or well, there's two methods that you can choose. Method one is do something, and method two is do nothing. So you can go either way with it. If you've got an older child, I would just do nothing and just just kind of go with the flow. If they are older, they're much more likely to just be able to go with it, like just like you and I would. But if they're younger, I would recommend that you do something, and what that looks like is the kind of 3 or 4 days before the clocks change. So from kind of next Tuesday, Wednesday, I would start to move bedtime 5 or 10 minutes earlier every single day, and we can just shift it bit by bit by bit by bit. Now you can obviously only do this if this works with your day. But that is kind of the best thing that you can do is just shift it bit by bit, earlier and earlier until you are already on the new time before the new time kind of comes. The other thing that you can do is change meal times to kind of fit with it. Now, this is really good for under twos, because their body clocks won't kind of get the message that the time has changed unless their routine during the day shifts. So I would be shifting meals too, so things like their breakfast, their lunch, and their tea. The other thing that you can do is once the clocks have changed, get them up and outdoors on that day. Get as much natural sunlight on their skin as you possibly can. It's this sunlight which kind of makes our internal body clock work. So getting daylight on them and try and have a really, really busy day. Like go out for a nice walk. Fingers crossed we've got good weather, and like spring has sprung. So let's hope it is a nice day. Um, if you've got a child that's napping, I should say as well, do shift those nap times in the 3 or 4 days before the clock change a little bit earlier every few days. And they are really the only things that you can do for the clock change.
That's great. Thank you very much. So yeah, just little by little, get them
Yeah.
acclimatized day by day. Um, and then finally, oh yeah, I mean, I suppose the additional thing is that must also affect the time that naps are taken, or would you think that it's
Yeah.
fine to continue to nap at pretty regular time?
I would shift naps too.
Okay, okay. And then our last question, which was from Lucy, who has three children, all under the age of 5. And she was saying, how do sleep needs change for children with ADHD or sensory issues?
So, so our service, we actually specialise in working with autistic children, young people, and those with a diagnosis of ADHD, or those who are on the pathway awaiting an assessment. So, if your child has ADHD or sensory sensitivities, you might have noticed that falling asleep and staying asleep can be a real challenge, especially falling asleep. This is something that we quite often see. Even though many children with ADHD actually need more sleep, their brains and their bodies can make that really difficult. And that's because they may have increased sensitivity to stimulation. So lights, sounds, textures, even things like pajamas can feel quite uncomfortable and make it harder to settle to sleep. They may have, or they do have delayed melatonin production. So many children with ADHD don't tend to feel naturally sleepy until much later in the evening, which then does make bedtime a bit of a battle. They may wake a little bit more often in the night. Even after they fall asleep, they may wake up more often and then struggle to settle back down again. Most kind of children, young people, and even adults that I speak to with ADHD just explain to me that it's hard for their brain to turn off. This is quite a common kind of complaint that we hear, and they usually use the word, I just cannot switch off.
Yeah, so just to add to that, some things that you can kind of do to help them sleep better is one, get a routine in place. Having a predictable, calming routine is really, really going to help. Now, you don't want this routine to be too long, because you just find that they will get second wind and then they'll just wake up more. So around half an hour to 45 minutes is about the kind of right amount of time. We want it to be a consistent sequence of kind of events that happen every single night. So this is often things like having a bath. They might wash. wash their face, brush their teeth. They might go to the loo, and then go into their own room, get dressed for bed, and then they might have a story, might have a audio book, they might read to themselves, and then get in bed and go to sleep. Now, if they're using devices like mobile phones, iPads, screens, things like that, I would start to put them on charge at the start of the routine, and then from that point, no more screens, because it isn't so much the light from the screens now, it's the things that they watch is just going to make it much harder for them to turn off. The other thing that you can do is just allow a bit of extra wind down time. Now, this wouldn't be part of the routine. You would do this before, but this is like things like starting to dim the lights in the house. You might turn off things that are really loud. If they're watching films, I would make it a little bit calmer. So we want to shift from a higher energy to a lower energy. Now, the error that we quite often see is parents get their are trying to get their kids really tired, so they take them out on the trampoline, they take them to the park, they take them for walks, but things like that are just going to hype them up more. So it's a case of trying to make the evening a bit more of a wind down time. We also want to consider all of the sensory needs. So I would, like Paige mentioned with the pajamas, just make sure there's nothing like that is making it really hard for them to go to sleep. The research on white noise, actually, I know we have spoken about white noise quite a lot, but the research on white noise for children with autism and ADHD or either or is really good. It kind of shows that it does help their brain turn off a little bit more. Now, if the child has autism and ADHD, and they might also suffer with things like anxiety or having a really busy brain, what you could do before bed is just do a brain dump. And a brain dump is where you just get a notepad and pen and you just write down all of the things that are in your mind. So for me, it's things like, oh, tomorrow my child needs to take in a pound for Red Nose Day, like just things like that, just to get it out of your brain and on something else. And it just gives you a better chance of being able to go to sleep then. And they are my top tips, basically.
There's some really great tips, and I think like we're often told like sort of journaling and things like that are really helpful as well. And I guess that is what we say, when you write everything down, that's it, isn't it? It's just sort of like getting it all out, and then
Yeah.
it kind of feels a bit more digestible. But yeah, that's been really helpful, a pair of you. Thank you so much for your time. That was all the questions that we had time for today. Um, Thank you very much for everyone who's been watching, and apologies for the technical glitch that we experienced in the middle, but we got back on track. And yeah, and thank you to Paige and to Sarah and Together Trust. It's been a real pleasure to spend some time with you this afternoon. If you want to find out a bit more about Together Trust, we have their website linked below this live stream, so you can head over to there. Um, and yeah, and if you have any further questions as well, feel free to drop us a message or email or yeah, Instagram message, anything like that, and we'll get back to you. But yeah, hey Sarah, any final thoughts before we sign off?
No, I just want you to all know that that your child might be sleeping not very well at the moment, but it doesn't mean that it is going to be like that for the rest of your life. You can change sleep, and having autism and or ADHD isn't a life sentence to bad sleep. There are things that you can do, and the things that we have spoken about during this call are the best places for you to start. But you can get better sleep.
And we've got sleep advice sheets on our website as well, for over twos and for under twos, just in case anybody wants to check them out. Of course, you can look at our self-funded packages, and we've also written blogs with the Happy Linen Company as well. So there's lots of things to kind of access through the website and through your website as well, Rhiannon.
Thank you
Thank
very much, the pair of you. And
you.
yeah, I'll thanks very much everyone for watching. And I will stop the live stream.